everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hannah. I make videos about New York City and my life here living in it. And today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in downtown Brooklyn. I realize that this topic might be a bit niche. I'm not sure how many of you are considering moving to downtown Brooklyn, but if you are, I hope you find this helpful. And if you're not, I hope it's at least entertaining. Also, I feel like a lot of these points could apply to living in any central business district in New York. So you might want to stick around if you're considering Midtown or the financial district or maybe even Long Island City. So I've been living in downtown Brooklyn for about 3 months now. But for the 2 years prior to that, I was living in Brooklyn Heights, which neighbors downtown Brooklyn. So I've been in this general area for a while. Sometimes Brooklyn Heights and several of the other surrounding neighborhoods get lumped in together with downtown Brooklyn, which I think is really silly because they're all very unique and have their own characteristics, but that's a different topic. I currently live half a mile from where I used to, and it is absolutely wild how much living here feels like a completely different world to Brooklyn Heights. We're gonna get into the pros and cons now, but before we do that, I just wanna take a second to remind you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I make new videos every single Saturday, and I would love to have some more of you come join me. So let's kick this off on a positive note with a pro, and that is transportation. There are so many subway stops here that are serviced by so many different subway lines, as well as several bus stops. Downtown Brooklyn is typically just 1 to 3 stops from Lower Manhattan, depending on where exactly you get on, and also very convenient to the rest of Brooklyn. You can even get all the way up to Harlem in like less than 45 minutes. It's super easy to get anywhere in the city from here. Also, due to the amount of subway stops in the neighborhood, you're never going to have to walk very far, which is definitely a plus in the winter. Something that I personally consider a con of living in downtown Brooklyn is that because it is a central business district, it doesn't really have that neighborhood feel that you get in some other neighborhoods here in the city. That was something that I really got used to and loved about living in Brooklyn Heights. So many of the people there were lifers. They've been there forever and ever, or they plan on being there forever and ever. Downtown Brooklyn definitely feels a lot more transient. It's made up of a lot of new builds and high rises, so you don't get that nice, quaint vibe of living somewhere with townhouses and brownstones. However, although for the most part I do consider this a con, it can be pretty inspiring to look out the windows or walk outside and see all of these massive skyscrapers around you in this just huge city. So it's not all bad. I know I've already touched on the convenient transportation and how easy it is to get in and out of the neighborhood, but the neighborhood itself is also very convenient. I do believe that if you really wanted to, you could truly just never ever leave the neighborhood and never need to. There are so many grocery stores here at all different price points. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I love Trader Joe's. That's here. We have 2 Targets. There are doctor's offices, dentists, eye doctors. You can go over to the Barclays Center and see a show or some sports. Really, anything you want to do, you can do it here. Something that really contributes to the con of downtown Brooklyn not having much of a neighborhood feel is the presence of so many big box stores. But that also can kind of be a pro when you're in need of those stores. You don't have to go very far. We have a Macy's, an H&M, and Nordstrom Rack, and Old Navy. So if you're in need of some big box shopping, that's here. So do with that information what you will. Downtown Brooklyn is also walking distance to a lot of the absolute best neighborhoods in Brooklyn. You can walk to Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo, Fort Greene, Boerum Hill, Cobble Hill, all very, very easily. Those are all beautiful neighborhoods, so you can go, get your feel of the brownstones pretty easily. So this next con is one that I am frankly a little bit nervous to talk about because it's a very sensitive topic, but it's something that absolutely needs to be talked about, and I don't think that you can really talk about downtown Brooklyn as a whole without mentioning gentrification. Downtown Brooklyn is a heavily gentrified neighborhood that has undergone a lot of changes as recently as the past 10 years or so. This has caused a lot of tension in the neighborhood, and justifiably so. A lot of longtime residents have been forced out by rising housing costs, and a lot of the small local businesses have been replaced by chain restaurants and big box stores. I realize that just by living here in a building that is only around 10 years old, I and a lot of the population of this neighborhood are directly contributing to this gentrification. If you are considering moving here, or any gentrifying neighborhood really, please keep this in mind and do your best to make a difference where you can. You can frequent the small businesses that remain. You can get involved in local politics. Voting for candidates who are passionate about tenant protection laws is a great way to start, but you could also get more actively involved with campaigning and things like that. And maybe the most important thing that you can do is just talk to people. Get to know your neighbors and the people who have been here for a really long time. I know I mentioned earlier that downtown Brooklyn does feel pretty transient, and a lot of this is a direct result of that gentrification, but there are still some long-timers here. Talk to them, get to know them. There's really so much more I could say about this. I could make a whole video on it. Maybe I will one day, but for now, let's move on to the next pro, which is the food. Downtown Brooklyn isn't one of the neighborhoods that you're going to hear mentioned when people are talking about good food in New York City. But there are absolutely some gems here. The first that comes to mind for me is the DeKalb? I don't know. Does anybody know? Is it DeKalb or DeKalb? Somebody tell me. The first that comes to mind for me is the DeKalb Market Hall, which is located in the basement of the City Point building, and it hosts more than 30 local vendors. You can get pretty much any food that you can think of here. There's a Cat's Deli, Mexican food, Chinese food, Thai food, and my personal favorite, the Pierogi Boys. I like to get the potato and cheese pierogies with bacon and sour cream on top. So good. We also have Junior's, Forno Rosso Italian, and a personal favorite of me and Ross, Menyajiro Ramen. So good. The final con we're gonna end on today is one that I really can't say a whole lot about, and that is traffic noise. There are several major roads and intersections in downtown Brooklyn, and it can be really difficult to avoid traffic noise, especially if you live along Flatbush Avenue or Tillery Street. You can mitigate this a little bit by living further from those main roads, but not completely. It's a large business district in an even larger city, so you're gonna get some traffic noise. So these are my pros and cons of living in downtown Brooklyn. Please keep in mind that these are all just my opinion. You might disagree with me. Maybe you love traffic noise, and if you do, that's great. I'm happy for you. Even though I did have some major cons on this list, I, for the most part, am really enjoying living in downtown Brooklyn. Everywhere that you could choose to live is gonna have pros and cons, and you just have to weigh them and figure out where it's gonna work for you. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. I feel like I could do several of these pro and con type videos. Maybe one about living in New York City in general specifically. So let me know if you're interested in that. Let me know your ideas. Please give this video a like if you haven't done so already. It really, really helps me out and helps the YouTube algorithm to know to push my videos out to more people. Subscribe for new videos every single Saturday, and I will see you in the next one.